Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Once again, this is Naaman with the DC Camp, a branch of Great Millstone, back for another video. But first and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Bahakash. Of course, double honors once again go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and therefore deserve double honors. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways pushing this truth, and also with the aid of numerous videos that are posted on a daily, all right, else provided so you can learn, and hopefully they will aid in waking up the remaining, hopefully, elect of our people, all right, because time is short. All right, so here we go. Something else that we've been trying to tell our people, all right, and you have to wonder, these elites, these billionaires, see, they've always been ahead of the curve because they're in on it. So what this young lady here, this is the site Inner Conspiracy, all right? And as you can see, the title there, don't be fooled. They're turning food into a weapon. Indeed, they are. And you're going to find out just how bad it's going to get, all right? How much more worse it's going to get, all right? So here we go.
Have you noticed how quickly they were trying to change what S on your dinner plate? While everyone was distracted by election chaos and global conflicts, something far more insidious has been taking shape: the complete corporate takeover of our food system. I'm going to show you something that should disturb every single American who values their freedom to choose what they eat. Let me break this down for you. What we're witnessing isn't just a shift in food trends, it's a calculated power grab by financial elites and tech billionaires who have realized something crucial. Whoever controls the food supply controls everything. In 20
And again, this is nothing new, all right? For those of you that think it is, no. This has been done down through the ages. You know, we make reference to Masada and the Israelites during 70 AD. All right, what did they do? They cut them off. So a lot of them starved to death. It's nothing, again, but it's just people nowadays, they think they've evolved to the point where, who would dare do this? What do you think? You're dealing with a people, the nation of Edom, the so-called white man, who, if you haven't figured it out by now, who rules this world in wickedness, by the way, wants to extend his rule. All right? You think he wants to go down? No. But there's all kinds of biblical scripture that tells him no. You've been appointed a time just like any other kingdom on this earth. And you're not going beyond that. Let's get one scripture to prove that. Because he thinks he's the exception, all right, to everything. No, you're not. This is Job 14 and 5, all right? It says, seeing his days are determined, all right, went too far. The number of his months are with thee, all right, which is the Most High. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Plain, simple, to the point. We're in that 250th year, all right, and getting close to it, all right. I think to be, let's see, I think it's 249. Yeah, 1776. So this is the 249th. All right. So you get that 250, that magic 250 number. Aha. Let's continue.
2020, while most Americans were locked down in their homes, Bill Gates quietly became the largest private farmland owner in the United States. Think about that for a second.
Why? Why? Bill Gates made his money, and we believe he was set up as one of these, by the government. He's related to Margaret Sanger. All right, the uh, that evil ass woman that was, eugenics, especially when it came to our people back in the earlier part of the last century. Yeah, that's who he's related to. He's with all this vaccines. Why is he the face of that? He's not a medical professional. He's a software engineer. That's where he made his money. Now he's officially the uh, owner of the most the private land farms. Why? She's going to tell you again something we have addressed on many occasions. But you know what it is for you people out there, and this is not doubting us. We're bringing out the word of the Most High. All right, but you always, and this is Jake. Jake is the master procrastinator. You're going to wait till the last moment for everything. It's proven over and over again. This is one of these times. This is the one time you don't want to be late on the information. Because, hey, a couple of days from now, well, actually, Saturday, Sunday, let's just push it to Monday, all right? First, second. And you're not getting those, or not getting the assistance that you're so used to getting. These people that work in the government, they're feeling it. You know, People that make six figures, they just missed their first check. All right. They're cutting back on everything. Again, scripture, uh, Revelation 12 chapter, about us being nourished and that nourishment being cut off. That's what this devil in the White House, he knows what he's doing because his strings are being pulled by others. The issues, they really run this country. And I'm talking about these Israelis, you know, and we keep telling you this, but you don't want to believe us. It's right there for us. I mean, it's like, how blind can you be? There's also willful ignorance because a lot of people, they refuse to accept the fact that, hey, your time is over with. America was not meant to last forever. It's on the downturn. It's going. And people are looking at this from all over the world. A lot of them with joy because they realize that it was America. It was America's wicked ass that has been behind a lot of bullshit in destabilizing their countries, spying on them, setting up puppet leaders. Yes, people have long memories, but only the idiot Americans. The, wow. And a lot of them now know that they've been fucked over, especially this last presidential election. In the last 10 months that this guy has been in office, and they realize they've been played. And I'm talking about the ones that voted for him. Yeah, yeah, it's some comical shit when you think about it. Not so much now, with people feeling, all right, the effects of that decision they made last November. Oh man, it's some funny shit, really. But these are things that we warned you about for years, but you called us crazy. Bet you're rethinking that now. Let's continue.
The tech billionaire who wants to dim the sun and put vaccines in everything now owns over 269,000 acres of American farmland.
How
But it
about
gets
that?
worse. Gates isn't just buying land. He's also the primary investor in companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods. The same man buying up real farms is simultaneously funding the synthetic meat industry that could put traditional farmers out of business. This isn't coincidence, folks. This is strategy. But here's where things get really interesting. In 2019, a company
Yeah, strategy. How about that? You're not to eat what the Most High made naturally, but we're going to grow meat in a lab, and I'm going to give you that instead. Think about what they're saying to you because they want to be the one, they want to be God. This is Second Thessalonians, second chapter, in your face. And there's some Old Testament references, but I'm talking to you, New Testament people. It's been there all along.
called Indigo Agriculture launched what they called the Terraton Initiative, the world's first large-scale carbon farming marketplace. Sounds environmentally friendly, right? Let me explain what's really happening here. These carbon credit systems require farmers to completely change how they farm, using proprietary technology to measure and report their carbon sequestration.
Proprietary. Let's look up that word. Proprietary. All right. Relating to an owner or ownership. Can't patent what nature makes. Can't patent that. That's of the Most High. But if we can cut that out, and we therefore come with our own shit, yeah, owner or ownership thereof. You didn't believe us when we told you this is the aim of these devils. So you ain't gonna be able to know all this carbon stuff. No, this is just a way for them to get rid of what's natural, so they can come in with their own shit. Mm.
The technology and verification systems are owned by you, guessed it, the same corporate interests pushing synthetic foods. And who is backing these carbon farming initiatives? BlackRock and Vanguard, the world's largest asset management firms that together control over $15 trillion. These
And who's at the head of BlackRock and these other, the issues, the Jewish? Yeah.
aren't just random investments. They recreating an entirely new financial system based on controlling how food is produced. Now, watch how this connects. In January 2021, the World Economic Forum launched its Great Reset initiative with a specific focus on transforming global food systems. Their vision? A world where traditional animal agriculture is drastically reduced, replaced by lab-grown proteins, and all farming is digitally monitored for climate compliance. Pay attention to this part. The same financial institutions that own shares in these synthetic food companies are simultaneously creating the regulatory framework that will make traditional farming increasingly difficult. They were playing both sides. By 2023, we've seen the rollout of food as software where companies like Solar Foods, backed by Surprise, the same venture capital firms connected to Gates, can literally create protein from air using proprietary fermentation technology. They've patented food itself. This isn't just about business competition, this is about control. When your food comes from patented technology instead of nature, whoever owns those patents decides who eats. When farming requires expensive carbon monitoring equipment and compliance with corporate design sustainability metrics, who gets pushed out? The independent farmer. Let us dive deeper into exactly how this system works. because what I'm about to show you reveals the true scale of what they're rebuilding. First, we need to understand the concept of food as software. This isn't just marketing language. It's a fundamental reimagining of what food is. Traditional agriculture relies on natural processes refined over
Food as a weapon. Food as a weapon. Think about that. All right. Food as a weapon. All right. Something else we've always told you. You probably didn't believe us. All right. But you got to remember. All right. What did Meyer Amschel Bauer, all right, as of the Rothschilds, what was his statement? He said, give me control of a nation's, and I'm paraphrasing here, give me control of a nation's money, and then I care not who makes the laws. Someone with that mindset, or a people with that mindset, you don't think that that was going to be extended to the food? This is about control. White supremacy is about control. All right? These people have a serious God complex, always have. All right? Since they came into rule as the Greeks, that they like to remind people constantly of. And then the Romans. All right? And we're in the revived Roman Empire now. Yeah.
thousands of years. Seeds are planted, animals are raised, harvests come in. But the new paradigm treats food like computer code, something that can be programmed, patented, and completely controlled by its creators. Take Impossible Foods, for example. Their key innovation isn't just plant-based meat at their proprietary molecule called heme that they've patented. They don't just sell you a burger, they sell you their intellectual property. And if they decide to change the formula, increase the price, or restrict who can sell it, you have no alternative source for that exact product. This is happening across the entire alternative protein landscape. In March 2022, the FDA granted approval to Upside Foods for lab-grown chicken. By December of that year, they had secured over $400 million in funding, with investors including Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and meat industry giant Cargill. See the pattern? The very companies that dominated traditional meat processing are now positioning themselves to control the synthetic alternatives. But that's just the food itself. The control system extends much further. In August 2021, the Biden administration announced new initiatives to pay farmers for carbon credits generated through climate-smart farming practices. Sounds beneficial, right? Look closer at who's designing the measurement systems, who's creating the marketplace, and who ultimately profits. A company called Nori has created what they call the world's first.
For you clowns out there that just think this is limited to one particular party, political party that is. No, they're all in on it. They both play you for a fool.
Carbon removal marketplace. Their system allows farmers to sell carbon credits directly to buyers. But to participate, farmers must use Nori's proprietary measurement systems and comply with their standards. Who funds Nori? Their investors include Placeholder, a venture firm with deep ties to cryptocurrency and digital identity systems. This is where it gets truly concerning. The same financial interests creating these carbon markets are simultaneously investing in digital identity systems that will eventually link your personal carbon footprint to your purchasing power. The World Economic Forum. Its own white papers outline a future where individuals have personal carbon allowances that limit what they can buy based on the climate impact. Think about what this means when applied to food. In this system,
kind of makes you, like myself, wish they had an app. But don't worry, it's coming. You know, do away with these motherfuckers. You know, you're the only uh, common denominator here as far as, you know, being responsible for wherever there's some fucked up shit. There you go, and that's that Malachi first chapter, verse 4. You know, they're the border of wickedness. All right, this is them wherever they go throughout the earth. There's some bullshit. It's wickedness. You know, Daniel 7 and 25. Let's get that real quick. This is what they're about. All right, it's got to be their way. How dare you worship the Most High? We're your gods. All right, you've got to pay for that. This is Daniel 7 and 25. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Is that not what's happened? All right, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So he's going to change the times and laws. All right. And Daniel 8, the next chapter over, tells you about what? About what he's doing through his policies. It's nothing good. Nothing good at all. All right. Let's see. There you go. Daniel 8 and 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hands. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Yeah, this 3-eye atlas and all these things that are happening in the heavens got him disturbed because it reminds him his time is short. That's at Revelation 12 and 12. So you're seeing these things, you're seeing the pace quicken here. All right.
Meat becomes a luxury that counts heavily against your carbon budget. The same people restricting your access to traditional protein sources are the ones selling you the patented alternatives. And it's not just about what you eat, it's about who gets to farm it all. In 2022, the Dutch government announced plans to slash nitrogen emissions by 50% by 2030, which would require eliminating about 30% of the country's livestock. Dutch farmers, who operate some of the most efficient farms in the world, took to the streets in protest. Why target them specifically? Because the Netherlands serves as a test case for what they want to implement globally. Here's what the media didn't tell you. In the same regions where Dutch farms were being forced to close, Bill Gates-backed company Memphis Meats, now Upside Foods, was expanding its European operations for lab-grown meat production. This isn't a coincidence, it is market clearing. Now let us connect this to what is happening domestically. In March 2023, the SEC proposed a rule requiring public companies to report climate-related risks and greenhouse gas emissions, including emissions from their entire supply chain. This means food producers would be required to document and report the climate impact of every farmer they work with. Small and medium-sized farms don't have the technology or resources to comply with these complex reporting requirements. Who does? The largest.
See how good they make this look? Look at it. Look how appealing they try to look at it. Look at it. Look at it. FL and AL ban cultivated meat. Florida and Alabama criminalize cultivated meat. These laws do not protect consumers. It is food policing to protect entrenched interest, defying free market principles and limiting consumer autonomy for a product of food safety. See? Alabama and Florida said, no, fuck this. So you see how they word it? these laws, well, Florida and Alabama criminalize cultivated meat. Use the word cultivated, grown in a lab. These some slick bastards, boy. Defying free market principles and limiting consumer autonomy for a product the food safety experts at, again, these people are going to do what they're told USDA and FDA have deemed safe. Fight back. Sign the petition. We want fake meat. Look at that, delicious. From the first taste to the final bite. Our cultivated meat. Fake meat is flavorful, tasty, tempting, and dare we say, delicious. Look at it. This is the power of this devil to make. Look at this, his technology. Look at that. We make the chicken's dream about. Some of this is cut off, so bear with me. Damn it. Let's see if I can. Nope. Salaki. I hit the wrong button there. But you see, this is witchery. This is sorcery, witchcraft. Salaki. God dang it. Straight up witchcraft. Dadgummit. Hold on. Okay, let's see if we can. I don't know what's going on here. All right, I got enough of a signal. It should be. Okay, let's try again. Now I regret trying to. All right, Salakia, so we're back. As again, I'm on, look at this. It looks so, the marketing, the visuals. Look at this. It's delicious meat grown directly from animal cells. Oh, these devils. Look at this. This is what this devil is all about. The ultimate fraud. Selling you things is not even, it's an illusion.
Agricultural corporations and tech companies selling carbon monitoring. Solutions. This creates a system where farmers must either adopt expensive proprietary technology or lose access to markets. Meanwhile, the banking sector has begun implementing what they call climate risk assessment in their lending practices. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Citigroup have all announced policies to reduce financing for businesses with high carbon footprints. When applied to agriculture, who gets squeezed out of capital access? Traditional animal agriculture and small farmers who can afford the transition to climate-smart practices. And who's there to buy up that land when farmers can get loans? Investment firms like BlackRock and wealthy individuals like Bill Gates. This is a coordinated strategy operating through multiple pressure points: regulatory, financial, market, consumer, and technological. Regulatory pressure is applied through climate policies that dictate compliance and reshape industry standards. Financial pressure follows as banks and investors align capital with sustainability mandates, restricting access to funding for non-compliant entities. Market pressure is reinforced through corporate supply chains that demand adherence to environmental benchmarks. Meanwhile, consumer pressure emerges from marketing campaigns designed to influence public perception and purchasing behavior by highlighting climate impact. Finally, technological pressure is exerted through the development and control of patented alternatives, ensuring that innovation and the profits tied to each remain in the hands of a select few. All of these forces push in the same direction, away from independent natural food production and toward corporate controlled, synthetic, and digitally monitored food systems. Let me show you how deep this goes. In September 2021, the United Nations held a food systems summit that was heavily criticized by food sovereignty groups for being dominated by corporate interests. The summit's concept paper was written by the World Economic Forum and emphasized technological solutions, precision agriculture, and alternative proteins, exactly the agenda that benefits the corporate food tech sector. One of the summit's key initiatives was the innovation lever promoting technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and biotechnology in food production. And who was appointed to lead this innovation network? An executive with direct ties to the Gates Foundation. The same pattern appears in the funding of agricultural research. Public university research increasingly depends on private funding, with corporations and billionaire philanthropists directing research priorities. The Gates Foundation alone has granted over $6 billion to agricultural development, steering research toward technological solutions that align with their investment portfolio. This isn't just about money, it's about narrative control. The same interests investing in synthetic food companies also fund media campaigns promoting their products as the solution to climate change. They fund academic studies highlighting the environmental impact of traditional agriculture. They shape public perception through their enormous influence over mainstream and social media platforms. Now, let's look at what this means for your freedom. When food production depends on proprietary technology, patented genetics, and corporate-controlled digital systems, your choices become limited to what these entities decide to produce. When climate regulations make traditional foods prohibitively expensive, your choice to eat differently becomes meaningless if you can afford it. But the control goes even deeper. The next phase involves linking food purchases to digital identity and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. China is already pioneering this system, where citizens have social credit scores that can restrict their purchasing options. The infrastructure for similar systems is being built in Western countries under the guise of climate responsibility and health monitoring. In August 2022, MasterCard launched a program that tracks the carbon footprint of your purchases and can automatically cut off your spending when you reach certain thresholds. They're partnering with various banks to integrate this into everyday credit cards. The technology exists right now to limit your meat purchases based on your weekly carbon budget. And here is the truly disturbing part. The same companies building these restriction systems are invested in the alternatives they'll steer you toward when traditional options are unavailable or unaffordable. This is why Whitney Webb's warning about food being weaponized isn't hyperbole, it's a precise description of what's happening. Food is becoming a mechanism of control, a tool for social engineering, and a weapon against independence. Think I am exaggerating? Look at Sri Lanka. In 2021, their government mandated a nationwide transition to organic farming without proper infrastructure or transition period. The result? Food production collapsed by 40%, inflation soared to 30%, and the country descended into chaos. This wasn't just bad policy, it was a real-world test case of how quickly food systems can be weaponized to destabilize an entire nation. The playbook is clear. Create problems in the food supply through policy decisions, offer proprietary solutions owned.
There you go. Hegelian dialectic. All right. Problem. All right. Causes the reaction. And the same ones that caused this to begin with, now they come with the solution all of a sudden. Yeah. Same old playbook, right? You gotta understand, these people know that they're through. And these people, I mean the nation of Edom, the so-called white people. All right? These people sold their birthright. You can read that in Genesis 25th chapter. They sold their birthright. All right? So the things that are done that were afforded them, all right, on the left-hand side, all right, where they excel, not on the right hand where it's done through the spirit, but what was provided them with their technology, uh, they will never attain what was given to us. And for that, let me get you real quick, because like I said, you're not getting that birthright back. In fact, let me switch here real quick. You know, this is the Most High is doing. This is Second Ezra 3, and let's go down to, let's see, the point is in 16. Let's see. Yeah, let's start up, read into it. All right, because this is talking about a people. All right, one was accepted, the other was rejected. All right, let's see. Should start at 9. This is Second Ezra chapter 3, verse 9. And it says, and again in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world, and destroyedst them. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah with his household, of whom came all righteous men. And it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people. Now, is it talking about everybody, or are we talking about a certain people? All right, remember, all right, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now, when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. He chose thee a man from among them, all right, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou shewest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. So we're talking about a particular people, all right? And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou also gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. So here they are now, as time is winding down, the descendants of Esau, Jacob's brother. Read Genesis 36 chapter for the lineage of these so-called white people. All right. Uh, they were put by. They have no, this is it for them, in other words. There's no salvation. There's no chance of repentance for these people. It tells you that in Hebrews, the 12th chapter. For you Christians out there that think everybody can be saved. No. In fact, let's get it. You don't believe me? Okay. Fine. That's what we're here for. This is Hebrews 12 and 16 and 17. It tells you, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who we just reading about, that was put by the brother of Jacob. Read Genesis 25 and learn to look things up. Research it for yourselves. Because that piece of crap that was put in the pulpits, they're not teaching you any of this. Lest there be any fornicator. Let's go into fornicator. What is a fornicator? To sell, akin to the base, all right, a male prostitute, all right. That is, by analogy, someone in debauchery, whoremonger. These are some vile people, profane person. Let's get another one. All right. Heathenish, wicked. The world that you live in presently is a reflection of their spirit. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Genesis 25th chapter. Sold it. It wasn't stolen. He sold it. 17, for ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. Genesis 27th chapter. He was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So there literally is no hope for these people. It tells you in the Bible dictionary that they're the only neighbor of Israel, of the Israelites, all right, that will get or will be granted any they're done. No mercy for these people. None. There's your so-called white man. The only neighbor of the Israelites that will be granted no mercy. Think about that. And yet, it stands to reason why our people, anytime we have that sign out there with all the nations, Moab, the current Chinese, Ammon, Japanese, all these others, Elam, East Indians, all these people on that sign, who's the only one they ask about? The so-called white man. Why isn't the white man on this? Why? Because it still had that slave mentality, that colonial mentality. Because you're still fucked up, but you don't want to admit it. So a lot of our people gonna get, they want to stay here, is my point. Because the so-called white man is their God. And that ultimately is going to cost them when it comes to Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. Because ultimately that's what that's about. You're choosing who your God is. Is it the Most High who tells you don't take what's coming? That MOTB, that chip, and the consequences thereof are in the next chapter, Revelation chapter 14, verse 9 specifically. If you take it, that's your ass.
By corporate interests and use the crisis to restructure the system in ways that centralize control. So what can you do about this? First, understand that this isn't inevitable. These systems require your participation. They require farmers to adopt their technology, consumers to accept their products, and citizens to comply with their regulations. Support local farmers directly. Build relationships with food producers in your community. Learn basic growing skills yourself. These acts of independence are becoming revolutionary in a world pushing towards centralized food control. Pay attention to the regulatory environment. When you hear terms like climate-smart agriculture, food system transformation, or sustainable food systems, look past the benevolent language to see who benefits from the proposed changes. Most importantly, recognize that this issue transcends traditional political divisions. This isn't about left versus right, it's about centralized control versus distributed independence. It's about whether you believe food production should be controlled by a small group of corporations and financial institutions, or remain in the hands of diverse, independent producers. The stakes couldn't be higher. Throughout human history, controlling food has been the ultimate form of power. Those who control food can control populations, crush dissent, and reshape societies according to their vision. What we
There you go.
re-witnessing is the biggest power grab over the food supply in human history, disguised as
Yes.
progress towards sustainability. They were not just changing what you eat, they were fundamentally altering who has power over your most basic human need. The question is in T if this will affect you and your family, it S when. And by then, the alternatives may have already disappeared. This isn't T just about food, this is about freedom itself. And
And don't the scriptures teach us about that? Let's go. Let's go. Everything's in here. Everything is in here. This is Sirach 39. Some of you know where I'm going with this. All right, verse 26. This is why this is their control. It says the principal things for the whole use of man's life are what? Water, fire, iron and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners, they are turned into evil. That's what this bastard is doing. The things that you actually need to survive, to exist, even. Control. What did I say about white supremacy? At its base, it's about control. They know that they're on the way out. They sold their birthright. All right, let's go to 2nd Ezra. 6. And it says, Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. That was symbolic. That was some heavy symbolism. All right. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Revelation 11 and 18 tells you what? That he's going to destroy him that destroy the earth. Who does that fit? My goodness, people, it's right in front of your face. All right. But we've done what we were commanded to do per Ezekiel's 2nd and 3rd chapters. All right. We've been that watchman. All right. We've on the wall trying to tell you what is what and how to prepare yourself. All right. In other words, by doing so, the blood is off of our hands. If you choose not to take heed, that's on you. All right. So with that, I hope once again that whoever views this has been, don't be fooled. They're turning food into a weapon. Whitney Webb, the site here is Inner Conspiracy. All right. So as usual, again, I hope whoever reviews this has been edified. And I'd like to remind you once again, as I do at the end of every video I do, especially in the times that we're in now, remain circumspect. Keep your head on a swivel. All right. Be very aware of your surroundings. All right. So with that, until the next video, shalom.